Some of you have heard me say before that whenever you find a particular reading that appears in all, if not a few of the Gospels, or all of the Gospels, it's probably a very important reading. This particular one appears in all the Synoptic Gospels, or some version of it, where Jesus brings a child in amongst the disciples to try to show them or give them an example of something. And the big question is, what is he trying to show them? Well, children certainly aren't mature emotionally, but children, on the other hand, don't operate dualistically. In other words, children don't think one thing and say another. In fact, the problem we usually have with children is they say exactly what they're thinking, and it's often, embarrassing. I'm sure we've all had that case where we've had a child say something about like, "Oh, Mommy, that lady's fat," or "Where did she get that dress?" So our problem is always they're boldly honest. And in the story before this story, and we see it happening at the end of the story, the disciples are fighting over who's going to be first, who's going to be in charge. Now, bear in mind, just before this, Jesus has told them he's going to be crucified. And instead of them going, they're arguing about who's going to be first, who's going to be in charge, who's going to take over, who's next in line. And he says that kind of again at the end. And Jesus says that's not what it's about. It's not about who's in first, who's next in line, who gets there, who doesn't. That's our world right now, right? Who's in charge, who's next in line, who's most important, who's wrong, who's right. He says we want to be like little children. Children, first of all, like I said, say what they think. Secondly, which is usually good, also, children, again, like I said, don't operate with any. They operate strictly at the one level. They don't operate because they're angry or egotistical or so on. They don't. They don't worry about image. They don't worry how they look, how they, what kind of clothes they have on. Look at a little girl. Look how our little girls dress sometimes. They've got 3 different patterns going on, right? And children love unconditionally. In fact, that's one of the things we try to teach them not to do, because they're always running up to people. We're saying no, don't be so open to people. We teach them fear. So there's a reason that Jesus has this story in the 3 Gospels, or they appear in the Gospels, is that we're called to operate at one level. We're called to be that person to everybody. We're called to treat everybody equally. We're called to not worry about position, power, prestige, or property. We're called to love one another and love one another unconditionally, and not worry about all those other things that go on in our lives. Amen? Amen. Amen.